Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Dhanvat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining today's daily call. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj, you have any specific topic? Should I share anything?
I'll speak on the holy name today.
Okay, Guru Maharaj. Thank you. I'll turn it over to you.
This is part of our regular schedule to every couple of weeks we approach the topic of the holy name.
Guru Maharaj, you like me to share any verse from the scriptures?
Let's see. I can't think of the verse. Let me see if you can find it.
Mm-hmm.
The first word is Namaparad, Namaparadha, Yuktanam.
Okay, I'll just find it.
Namaparad Yuktanam.
Okay, just give me
the first two words in the verse.
Okay, Guru Maharaj, I'm just finding. Yuktanam.
Yuktanam, Namaparad, Nama Parad, Yuktanam. That's one word, Namaparad. Well, maybe what I'll do is just I'll share my screen.
Okay, Guru Maharaj. I'll just try to find one more time. Then if I can't find it, I will.
It should be in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. In Adi Leela. Let's see here.
Sorry, Guru Maharaj, I couldn't find it here.
Okay, I'll send it. I'll see if I can do a share screen here. I'm not sure exactly how to do this. Let me see.
I'll just make you.
Srimati, how do I do a share screen?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj, you have to click on share screen button on the Zoom. If you go back to Zoom, there in the bottom, you'll see share screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the green thing. Okay.
Yeah. And select the window which you want to share, Guru Maharaj.
I have to share sound too, right?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, if it is an audio clip.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yes, we can see. Thank you.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namaparad Yuktanam Namaheva Harantyagam Avishranti Prayuktani Tamevartha Karanicham. Only incessant chanting of Harinam can affect the purification of one who is infected with Namaparad. Indeed, the incessant chanting of Harinam is the only way to achieve the prayojana of human life, Krishna Prema. There's a little explanation. Take heed that counteracting Namaparad is troublesome. Therefore, intelligent persons will carefully avoid committing Namaparad at all. Pinpoint the sources of Namaparan, overcome them diligently, then Sudha Harinam will soon begin to manifest. A faithful devotee is moved to ashru, tears of happiness, and pulaka, horripilation, while chanting purely, but an undercurrent of namara aparad in one's character will disqualify one from achieving such ecstatic chanting of Sudanam. Therefore, the practitioner must be awake to and most cautious about Namaparad. And there's a question coming. This is spiritual master speaking to one disciple, Vijay. Vijay, this dialogue is part of the book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur called Jaiva Dharma. And here Vijay speaks, Srila Gurudev, what are the symptoms of Sudanam? And devotee, he responds, if a devotee just once utters Harinam purely, or if just one Sudanam enters the path of the devotee's mind or ear, then that one Sudanam will certainly deliver the devotee from material bondage, whether vibrated properly or improperly, with correct or incorrect grammar, vibrated in separate parts or properly conjoined. O Brahmana, the potency of Sudha and Harinam is certainly great. Therefore, one uses the vibration of Harinam to achieve wealth, health, sons, and opulence residence, or chance under greed for patishta, or actually it's lobya, distinction, puja, adoration, patishta, position. In other words, if one utters Harinam with offense, such chanting will not produce the eternal transcendental result with very soon. Therefore, one should diligently avoid offenses in chanting Sri Harinam. The chanting of Harinam may be spoiled in two ways. Samanya, exugiously, or prihat, enormously. Chanting with ordinary exugious fault is called namabhas, and the results of chanting are delayed. Impure chanting with enormous fault is namaparad. In this condition, only constant and intensive chanting for a protracted period can remove the enormous fault. Om Gyan Timidam Dasya Jana Salakaya. Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nivrisesa Sunyavadi Vastyatya De Satarine Vanchakovatarupascha Kripa Sindhu Paevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In all processes of bhakti, there are two considerations or two aspects. One is how to perform it properly and how to avoid performing it improperly. The chanting of the holy names of the Lord is Krishna himself in transcendental sound. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Punya Sudya Nityamuk Abhinna Tvam Nami Nami No. So the Lord's name is pure. It's not part of this material world at all. It is Krishna himself in sound. It's non-different than Krishna. And Lord descends in this age, Kali Kale Namarupa Krishna Avatar, Namahoite Hayasarva Jagat Nishtara. He descends in this age. So there is an incarnation in this age, which is the Yuga Dharma, the means for purification and self-realization, and that is chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And it is made very easily. Anyone can approach the holy name. There's no, as the Lord, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has mentioned, Nam Namakari Bahuda, Nija Sarva Shakti Statarpita Niyami Smarane Nakala, Tar Sri Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Dordaivam, Drisam Nihajani Nanavada. Lord Chaitanya, in the mood of a devotee of the Lord, is saying, somebody's got their thing open, their microphone open.
Yes, Sukal Mataji, can you please mute? Thank you, Mataji.
You can do that from the position of the Zoom host. You can also mute everybody, you know.
Yes, Gurvaj, like I'm in co-host, so I was just...
You don't have to ask people to, you can just mute them from where you are.
Okay, Gurvaj, sure. Yeah, thank you so much.
And so the holy name is the avatar in this age. And it's easily approachable, but there are conditions because it's Krishna, non-different than Krishna. So just like when we approach the deity, we have to approach in the proper way, proper consciousness with certain principles of spiritual etiquette that is necessary in order for us to worship the deity and approach the deity. So Krishna also, in the form of his name, one has to avoid certain things in approaching the name, and these things are, we call them things, but they're actually principles. That is the offenses to the holy name. So it says here that even if one is chanting the holy name, they cannot get the goal of the holy name, which is Krishna Prema, if they are covered with, affected with Namaparad. So the principle is to chant Hare Krishna, and the second principle is to avoid offenses in relationship to the holy name. And there are 10 offenses to the holy name. And one should carefully avoid these offenses because, as it says here, it's troublesome to counteract the offenses to the holy name. Therefore, those who are actually intelligent will not commit them and have to go through the troublesome effort to relieve themselves of these offenses. So therefore, one should chant very carefully with attention, avoiding the 10 offenses. And so we'll go down the page. And the first offense is, it's to blaspheme a sadhu is a very serious offense. Saintly devotees are attached to chanting Harinam and propagating his glories all over the universe. Therefore, why would Harinam tolerate any offense against the sadhu? The Lord will not tolerate any offense given towards those who are dedicated to chanting and preaching the glories of the Lord. Therefore, this is called Hasti Aparad. It's that offense which is compared to an elephant that is now running around in your garden. The garden is a very delicate thing. And if you put an elephant in there, you won't have no garden left. So this is called Apr. It's a very severe offense. To find fault, blaspheme those who have done this. So therefore, one should carefully avoid that offense. The second offense is very commonly committed, especially for people who are growing up in India. It's an offense to consider the most auspicious names, beauties, qualities, pastimes of the Supreme Lord Sri Vishnu as mundane and different from him. It's also an offense to equate deities, devas like Lord Shiva, and it also mentions Lord Brahma with the Supreme Godhead, Lord Vishnu, or to think that they are independent controllers of Lord Vishnu. So here it's explained that Brahma and Shiva are worshipped by many, but they are devas. The worship of them is deva. They are not the Supreme Lord. And they're giving a lot of respect, and they're also authorized forms to worship them. But if one thinks that that worship is just as good as worshiping Lord Vishnu, or chanting the glories of Lord Vishnu, or if they think that these personalities are independent of Lord Vishnu, then that is considered the second offense. So one should be very careful not to commit that offense, because in India, especially in many places, it's like yatapat tatapat. I'm okay, you're okay. Worship is the goal, and how you worship, that doesn't really matter as long as you worship. So we find that people like to worship different deities altogether and think that the worship is all the same. This is a misconception, because Krishna himself clarifies this point, that the demigods, who are headed by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, are not to be worshipped, because whatever one worships in the demigods, they can get that same benefit by worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's like if you have $1,000, you have $100. But if you have $100, you don't have $1,000. If you worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and the demigods will also bestow benedictions upon you, because they are servants of the Supreme Lord. And to worship them separately, Krishna says, is Ritigyan. Their knowledge has been stolen by illusion. Rita means damaged or injured consciousness or wrong consciousness. That consciousness which is contrary to truth. So one should be very careful. We give respects to the demigods because they are devotees and they are also very powerful. But we don't worship is for Krishna. That's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, in the last verse in the 6th chapter. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatendanatmanaha stradavan bhajate yomam te me yuktatamo mataha. Krishna is giving the understanding that, the highest form of worship is to worship him in devotion, and the bhakti yoga is the highest. And in that particular discussion, purport, Srila Prabhupada makes that point that bhajate means to worship, and that applies only to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and not to any other forms of deities who are not Vishnu Tattva. In other words, the demigods. And so that's where one has to be careful not to commit that offense. The third offense is a person must never harbor the misconception that the guru, who is realizing the glories of the Harinam, is an ordinary mortal. And there's an extension to that particular, it's called a guru vagya. What is it really? And there's another aspect. One should avoid disobeying the instructions of the spiritual master. One disobeys the instructions of the spiritual master or considers the guru to be an ordinary person, then that is the third offense. And that is a very serious offense because our connection with Krishna is through our connection with Krishna through worshiping Krishna is to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. So the worship of the spiritual master actually is the adherence to his instructions. And that adherence has to be an ongoing process of understanding and applying, not something we just, well, yeah, I know what he wants. No, you have to hear regularly because the guru will be giving more and more and different instructions at different times, depending on what is the subject matter given. So never consider that person to be ordinary, because why isn't he not ordinary? Well, he takes birth like everybody else. Sometimes he has a family. And sometimes he obviously will make some mistakes sometimes. It's like sometimes Prabhupada would chant a verse different than the actual verse. People would think, well, if he's a great spiritual master, why doesn't he know the verse? But that's not the qualification. Sometimes Prabhupada would just forget the verse and he would chant a verse and maybe say one word different. Like he would say, instead of Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhu Kabunoi, he would say Nitya Siddha Krishna Bhakti Sadhu Kabunoi. No, that's not a mistake in the meaning of the verse. It's just a different word that's applied there. So to think that these things are disqualifications is another form of offense. It's a very serious offense, actually. And therefore, we worship the spiritual master by hearing from the spiritual master, asking questions for understanding and carrying out service. These are the ways to worship. The fourth offense is to blaspheme the Vedic literature and its corollaries. So there are so many Vedic literatures that are not on the level of pure bhakti, but still they have a purpose. Why? Because they are geared towards people who are in a lower stage, such as people in the modes of passion and ignorance. Therefore, they cannot come up to the highest standard directly. And so the Vedic literatures are organized in a systematic way to bring people from one stage to another until they actually come to the stage of bhakti. So sometimes some of these literatures, usually the Puranas, or sometimes the Itihasas, the histories and others, will give principles that appear to be wrong, but they're not. They're just lesser for those who are in that consciousness. So the Vedas are vast, but one has to understand the difference between what is being explained and how it's being explained in relation. That's for one needs a spiritual master to clarify these things. Because it's easy to read the scriptures and come up with the wrong understanding. The fifth offense is to think that the glories of Harinam are imaginary or exaggerated. I just like to think, well, it says that you simply by once chanting purely the holy name of the Lord, all the reactions of one's sinful activities can be completely destroyed immediately. So one may think, well, that's just some hyperbole, that's some eulogy, some exaggeration, just to get people to chant. But it's not like that. But that's another form of an offense, because the holy name can never be fully understood, because it's Krishna himself in sound. It's non-different than Krishna. So the glories of the holy name can only be underestimated and not overestimated or exaggerated or imaginary. It's Krishna himself. So we read about the glories of the holy name along with chanting the holy name. And we have to accept that, because these are coming from the great souls, coming through the revealed scriptures. Okay, the sixth offense is to consider that Harinam are fictitious names of the controller. In other words, to give some interpretation on the holy name. The holy name is like this, the holy name is like this, comparing it to something in the material world. Holy name is like a nice, cool, soothing bath and a beautiful outdoor stream. People think like that. Or in other words, they give some comparison. And they think that the holy name is just, comparing it to something else. Or that it's been created by some sadhus, and in order to get some material gain from that. So there's different ways to commit this sixth offense. And that is, the holy name is not comparable to anything. It is the source of everything. And it's always supreme in all categories of itself. The seventh offense is nam baladhyasya hi papa buddhir. Those commit sin relying on the purifying power of the chanting of the Hari name to overcome the negative reactions are the most egregious offenders. No amounts of penance, yoga, dhyan can absolve their offense. Very heavy. This is considered the most dangerous offense. All right, I have the knowledge. The holy name is very powerful, very puriful, can overcome any sinful action. So now I will go out and I will have some illicit sex. I'll have some intoxication. And when I come back, I'll chant. That is a very, very heavy offense. It's an intentionally trying to use the holy name for some kind of relief for some offenses. Now, if one accidentally or due to circumstance commits an offense by breaking a principle, that is different. If it happens, if one does it intentionally, that's what this particular statement is making. Yeah, no amount of penance, yoga, dhyan, or even meditation can absolve their offense. So one should not use the holy name to further one's sinful activities. Number 8 is an often committed offense. Religious vows, penances, renunciation, sacrifices are indeed pious activities. However, they are mundane activities, and it's offense to compare them to the transcendental activity of chanting the super mundane Sri Harinam. What is being said here? Well, there are homas, there are yagyas, there are pujas, there are various types of sacrifices, all mentioned in the Vedas. But they're meant for elevation and purification. They are not anywhere near, as it says here, they are pious activities, and they also are within the category of material activities. They help, but they are not the goal. And to compare them, to think that, well, I do my puja and I chant my mantras and you have the holy name, what's the difference? I have my way and you have your way. No. That's not what the Vedas say, and that's not what the Acharyas say. That one must see that these other activities have some benefit on the material level and elevate one upward towards the spiritual realm, but they are not anywhere to be compared to the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is transcendental in all aspects of itself because it's Krishna in transcendental sound. Be careful of this one. This one is easily committed. We see people who are traditionally cultured in the Hindu culture, or you might say growing up in India. They think, well, yatamat tatapat, you're okay, I'm okay, doesn't matter what you do, it's all the same. No, but the holy name is it is Krishna himself. There's no difference. Number 9, to instruct the faithless persons about the glories of Sri Harinama's offense. Sometimes we commit that offense by accident. When we give a class, sometimes people are there who are faithless, but they come to learn something. So we have to be careful not to speak about the glories of the holy name, but what this one is actually focusing on is that sometimes in our preaching efforts, we meet people and we try to encourage them to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So we might start talking about the glories of the holy name, and in order to try to get them to chant. But if they resist that, which most of the times they do, or they can't understand it, then that's the offense. So therefore, if one is trying to encourage one to chant the holy name, one can use very simple. You chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you can associate with the Supreme Lord through his name. Or something like, you can be free from the suffering of material life. In other words, it protects one. Basic, very simple understandings, not that if you chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then you'll start to realize your eternal relationship with Krishna in the spiritual world as a gopi or as a cowherd boy. And then you can come to the platform of entering into that mood the more you chant. And so these are, we avoid such statements like that. It's an offense. The 10th offense is those who, even after hearing repeatedly about the wonderful and transcendental qualities of Sri Harinam, still maintain material attachments and think in terms of me and mine. In other words, for years I've been hearing about the glories of the holy name and I've been chanting the holy name, but I'm still attached to my material life. They maintain their material attachments. They don't work to get rid of them, at the same time practice the chanting of the holy name. And therefore the holy name, this is called the me and mine. I am this body, and what I have in relationship to this body, that is mine. I am a woman, I am a man, I am from this country. This is my relative, this is my sons, this is my family members, these are my country fellows from my particular country. These are my possessions, me and mine. So, okay, so this is a long discussion, it goes on and on. I wanted to cover these 10 offenses. And the 11th offense is to chant inattentively. So one has to avoid that by trying their best to chant attentively. And sometimes we fall into that. But we should try to overcome that by, again, bringing the mind back to the sound of the holy name and hearing very carefully. It takes some effort to do that, but that is the way to overcome the 11th offense, which is an offense that if it's committed, it can lead to committing the other 10 offenses also. If one can chant attentively, it is unlikely that one will commit any of the other 10 offenses. Okay, so these are the 10 offenses. We can stop here and go back to the screen. Yeah. All right, so we'll see if there's any comments or questions.
Yes, yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Guru Maharaj, so much for explaining us on the glories of holy name and the 10 offenses and how to avoid them. Thank you so much for this nice detailed class. Dear devotees, if you have any questions, comments, realizations, please unmute, or you can raise your hand, or you can type in the chat box. Hare Krishna. Just looking. Yes. Vraja Mandala Mataji, please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Yes, you have to instruct everyone to turn on their cameras.
Yes, dear devotees, please turn on your camera if possible. It would be nice, interactive to see Guru Maharaj. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Yes, Mataji, please go ahead. Vraja Mandala Mataji.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my sincere, humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, so nice to see you again. Guru Maharaj, just one point that you mentioned, which I sometimes fall into, a trap of preaching to a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. Now, naturally, this is our duty to preach. When I came across this, when I was studying the 10 offenses, I sometimes find it difficult where I get very enthusiastic to help family members or extended family members. And sometimes family members, especially of Indian heritage, they can be quite against the Hare Krishnas. Reason being is because they say on a bodily conception, such as white-bodied individuals and so on and so forth. And it's sometimes difficult to get around that. Obviously, I talk about Srila Prabhupada and maybe try and take that angle so they can kind of look at it in that light. But my question was that although they understand Krishna, Radha Krishna, and to a certain degree, they do understand. But when I'm speaking to them about the holy name or chanting or just the movement itself, yes, they do make offense. That there is a subtle tone, which I find offensive. But, you know, I don't take it personally. But for me, it's difficult because I do care for these individuals. I want them to progress somehow. I try to engage them as best as I can. Is that still an offense? How do I tread there? How do I embark on that?
If they're resisting you and speaking something different, they're actually hurting their own progress in spiritual life. That's why one of the reasons why we don't do this is that we don't want to give them a chance to commit offenses, and then that blocks their own progress in spiritual life. So therefore, we just keep it as simple as possible. Yeah, so we say chant and be happy. If you chant, you'll be happy.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. It's a difficult one because they do sing. They will sing, but bhajans, and the Maha Mantra naturally comes up and they will sing it. But when it comes to discussion about ISKCON, so to speak, yes, they will make offense, and it's,
Yeah, best not to just don't bring up that subject. That's all. You get to know what they can accept and not accept, or at least not criticize, and then avoid that. That's all.
yes, Guru Maharaj.
And it's kind of like knowing your audience. And if you see that starting to happen, you just divert the subject away. We don't want to allow them to speak negatively because it's not good for them.
No, of course, and the last thing I want to do is.
And we also get a reactions for putting them then in that position. So it says one should preach to only those who are eager to learn. If they're resistant, let's give them some prashadam, that's all.
Yes, that's another way forward. I have engaged them to, at times, look after my deities, which they have done, my Guru Nitai, which they've done nicely and gladly. So that's another way I do it. If I'm going away, then I will do that. I just very worried about the offense aspect. And yes, as you mentioned, it does come back to me. So I'm just a little bit concerned how I tread. I don't want them to make offense naturally, and I don't want to get a reaction simultaneously.
Yeah, that's a very delicate one. You have to be very aware of what's happening and what you can offer and what you should avoid.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and if you see it's not being accepted, immediately change the subject.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, I hope.
Hi, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, so Guru Maharaj, yeah, I also have a same question related to that because it's very difficult, like when we actually want to share family and relatives. They do have belief in chanting and everything, but it's not consistent. Sometimes they, when I tell them to chant, my parents, they do chant, but they also get involved in other rituals, other sacrifices. So is it okay?
Yeah, just leave them alone with that. Just if they're willing to accept the holy name, then by doing that, they'll start developing in their Krishna consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
If they are willing to accept the holy name, the other things will fall away once they get a higher taste, or even if it doesn't, for people who are fixed in their own traditional upbringing, the idea is just to get them to do the positive somehow. And if you do, then whatever else, of course, we also tell them not to commit sinful activities, not to, explain how bad it is to eat, to take onions and garlic like that, and stuff like that. And that you could talk to them directly about.
Mm-hmm.
But don't get too much into trying to stop their other forms of puja.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They will resent that after a while. If it happens naturally, then that's the idea.
Okay, very much. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes, very much. Thank you so much. Devotees, any questions, comments that you like to share? Yeah, Sridevi Mataji. Yeah, Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to your divine lotus feet. Thank you for another lecture on the glories of the holy name and how to avoid offenses. Guru Maharaj, I have a question regarding completely new people whom we are meeting for the first time. We may be out on the Harinam and we may be carrying mantra cards or books or something, and we may be just stopping for a few minutes or even few seconds to talk to them. At that time, we say chant and be happy, or give them a mantra card, and we show our beads and we say chant Hare Krishna, like that. We go on and explain. And is that something then which is an offense, or is that something that people will accept and take it up?
Oh, it's okay. You have to see, you know, people are people. They can take it or not take it. You try your best in the right way to encourage them. And then you leave it up to Krishna. What else can you do? You just do your best. And you don't show them your beads. That's something we don't do at all.
Oh, okay.
If you do, your beads will lose the potency of the holy name. If it's seen by materialistic people. We never show the beads. And if they touch it, then that's the worst thing.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that warning. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Just give the cards and explain what we are doing and encourage them, but we don't go on to glorify the holy name excessively, so that we are not making that ninth offense. I see that, but we just do what we can, and then the rest is in Krishna's hands, like that.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things you can say. Like Janaki Nath always would say, hey, you know, I see you're working really hard. Do you ever get stressed out? And they would say, well, yeah, a lot of times. Well, we have a solution for that. Here's an app. Go on this app and it teaches you how to relieve your stress. And it's chanting of this very powerful spiritual name. That's all.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, thank you so much. And thank you for that wonderful reminder of Janaki Nath Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Just looking for any questions. Devotees, any more questions? Comments?
Yeah, just keep chanting. Even if you're chanting with a fence, just try to avoid the fences and keep chanting. Then the holy name will gradually start to awaken. We should never give up chanting because chanting is difficult, or because we're chanting offensively. You have to be just aware of the offenses, avoid the offenses, and continue with your chanting. Okay, unless there's something else, we can end here today.
Yeah, so Guru Maharaj, just I have one question on chanting. Like all these offenses which you mentioned, like last 10th offense, like identifying with the body and everything, since we are like a very neophyte level, subtle level, we might not like verbally we do any offense, but subtle level we might be doing some offenses. So should we just like as we continue chanting, will it go away? How we should handle?
Yeah. You have to make it go away, and you have to keep chanting, and that'll also purify the consciousness. Both.
Mm-hmm.
You become aware of the anarthas or the wrong mentalities, then you just avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't avoid it, then it grows. And if it grows, then it'll cause you to act in an offensive way or speak in an offensive way.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, Srimati Mat, thank you, Guru Maharaj. Srimati Mataji has a question. Yeah, Mataji. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisance. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, thank you so much for the class. So we had a very basic question from other devotees in other forums. That devotee was telling that he's been chanting some rounds, but he also listens to other lectures and he reads sometimes. So he's saying that can we replace? So as I am taking out time, giving my time more to reading and hearing other lectures, I don't have time for chanting or finishing my prescribed rounds. So whatever I have to do the rounds. So can I skip the chanting if I'm not able to do on a particular day?
Well, is he initiated? Did he make a vow to chant 16 rounds?
Oh, I don't think he's initiated. He's not initiated.
And if he's actually wants to get the benefit of both, he has to make some kind of numerical vow within himself and then keep that as the minimum. You can't just chant whenever you feel like it and expect Krishna to be there. And he's not your servant. Krishna is not our servant. We are his servant. And we approach the holy name in a humble state. And at the same time, we make a commitment. Oh, my dear Lord, I'm going to chant this many rounds every day for your pleasure. Not like, well, today I don't feel like associating with you. Tomorrow, when I call you, come back. No, you have to make a numerical vow.
Yeah.
Whether if it's, we even say, make it according to how you can easily, execute it. Sometimes we say, chant one round in the morning and chant one round in the evening, 2 rounds a day. Or if you have been chanting for a while, you can pick another number. You can't go below your prescribed vow. It's up to you what to choose. But if you're actually aspiring for initiation, then you have to chant 16 rounds.
Yeah, even I said the same, so if you keep on chanting whatever number of rounds you are chanting, you can reach up to 16 rounds and you can eventually get a shelter of any Guru Maharaj. So that's what
That's correct. Yeah. We can't be whimsical when it comes to spiritual life.
Mm.
It's not like, well, I feel like it and not.
But he says that he is giving time to listening to lectures or reading Srila Prabhupada books. So that's why I don't have time much to do chanting. He says that he wants to replace that with other things.
Well, if he wants to replace it, he still has to chant something every day.
Yeah.
It's not that, everything centers around glorification of Krishna through his holy name. Reading books is also bhakti, and it's also very elevated form of glorification of Krishna. And there's a lot of emphasis on that in Prabhupada's statements. But he didn't make that as a substitute for the chanting.
Mm. Yeah.
It can't be a substitute. If he wants to chant less, all right. But then still have to chant something. Otherwise, how will he understand what he's reading?
Yes.
The holy name is not only meant to be chanted to glorify the Lord, but it purifies the consciousness too. When the consciousness is purified, the scriptures are more easily understandable and applicable. It's about purification. So reading is purification, but not as powerful as the holy name in terms of purification.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you, Mataji. Sridevi Mataji, good much. We have a question from Sridevi Mataji. It's okay. We still have
Not a question, actually. I was just trying to remember yesterday, His Holiness Indradyumna Maharaj did a kirtan here, and after which he gave a class. And in that class, he said the primary devotional service in ISKCON is chanting our 16 rounds every day.
Yeah. So, yeah, we know that. Yeah.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. I just wanted to point that out to this person, Srimati's friend, who is saying, I want to do all these other things.
Well, you can't force people to chant, but if you encourage them to at least do something in relationship. But if he wants to get initiated, he wants to become fixed in and the process, he has to come up to the standard of chanting 16 rounds. That's required. How he comes up, well, he can come up slowly, come up quickly, it's up to him. But why waste time when you know what is the essence? People don't want to chant because they think it's too hard. Because it requires determination to chant carefully and attentively.
Satyabhama Mataji has a question. Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Glory Srila Prabhupada. And thank you, Guru Maharaj, for a wonderful talk on offenses on chanting the holy name. I just want to ask you, and I think partially Sridevi Mataji just answered my question, that when I chant, because of the lockdown, there isn't much happening in the life at the moment. Like I'm just working and, deity worship and things like that. That is what goes on in the whole day. So there isn't many, like mind is not as clouded as it was before. However, still when I start chanting, there's so many things about the worshiping the Lord, the day services, what should I cook for them, what they should wear today, and things like that comes in the mind when we start chanting. So I don't know, like I know previous talks as well, you have mentioned that we should, even if you're thinking about the Lord's services, we should just focus and hear on the Lord's name. But how do we keep our mind free from all this, these things going on in the mind,
Just read. You think it's so easy to control the mind. Huh? It's not. The mind will take you away. It says the mind can create heaven out of hell and hell out of heaven. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says your mind is a non-devotee. Don't think you're so great because I'm a devotee. You are, but your mind's not. Your mind's a rascal. And it does whatever it wants, whenever it wants. So learning how to control the mind, Krishna speaks about that. Very carefully direct the mind towards where you want to place it. Don't force it, but guide it. Push it in that direction. And when it jumps off, bring it back. It's a constant struggle.
Guru Maharaj, chanting feels like a battle, bringing it back, and it goes without, you realize it. And it's not thinking something bad or anything like that, but because I'm not meeting many people, it's just temple services, home deity worship. So it's not like that, any material desires are coming in the mind. It just, thinks about the Krishna only. But
it just focuses on, when it focuses on your devotional service, it's in one sense, it's not inattentive, but at the same time, if you're going to chant, you should think of a holy name, or you should absorb yourself in chanting. Prabhupada also mentions that in some of his statements. You know, you have to hear nicely. And if the mind is going somewhere else, the hearing process is reduced. The holy name goes on in the background, and the mind is focusing on something else. And therefore, you're not getting the benefit of the chanting. So, mantra meditation, not just mantra for the sake of mantra.
Okay, Guru Maharaj, I will try and listen. I will hear. Like,
And practice it. Whenever the mind goes away, you have to bring it back. Use different techniques to help bring about attentive chanting. Read Sachinandana Maharaj's book called, what is it called, that book? Srimati, you know the name of that book? Living Name, yeah, there you go.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, living name.
Yeah. Read that book, study it. It's got so many techniques which can help you with your chanting, both devotional techniques and practical things.
okay, Guru Maharaj, thank you. I'll try and get it for sure.
Are you still doing book distribution?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. So we are doing monthly Sankirtan once a month. Yes, we do 2 to 3 hours every month.
I was with some lady yesterday, and she's from Crawley. Maybe you know her. Her name is Sri Devi Gopi.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yes, she messaged me as well yesterday that she was there with you. Yes.
Yeah, she says she likes to do book distribution, but she's doing it all alone. So maybe you can team up.
Yeah, sure, Guru Maharaj. I will ask her to come to our place, or we can go to their place in Crawley. Crawley is only half an hour drive from our place, for sure.
Yeah, she's very enthusiastic. Yesterday we stopped on our way back to London. We stopped at I don't know what they call it, these places where they have like rest stops. So we were doing kirtan there, and she was out distributing books. She was good. She actually met some people. She's very, very enthusiastic, extremely enthusiastic.
Yeah, she's very nice, Guru Maharaj. I will talk to her, and I will get her to. I will do it together. It will be nice.
Yeah, she's good. Yeah, I recommended she contact you. So let's see.
Yeah, sure, Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Guru Maharaj, I don't see any questions.
No, you're in charge, not me.
Should we end class, Guru Maharaj, with your permission? It's it's an hour past. It's just 8:04. So
Okay, you are Zoom host, has to know what to do every minute.
okay, Guru Maharaj. Yeah, we can end the class here. Thank you again for the wonderful class on the holy name. Yeah, definitely we'll try to do the chanting with attention, with no offenses. Yeah, thank you so much again.
Hare Krishna, thank you. We'll see you all tomorrow for maybe we'll continue the same topic, because that text that I was reading from, I only read 4 pages out of 13. There's 9 more pages to it, and it's all connected to the holy name.
Sorry, Guru Maharaj. I see Madhvi Mataji raised her hand.
It's such an Narayan raised his hand.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. It's a Satyanarayan here, obeisances to your lotus feet. All grace to Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, being a mentor, I like to just mention a couple of things about the chanting 16 rounds. Out of all devotional service, to chant 16 rounds should be prioritized. And second thing, sorry.
Yeah, correct.
And the second thing is, if someone is aspiring for initiation, they should have been chanting 16 rounds at least 6 months before initiation continuously without any break.
Yeah, that's also a requirement.
Even if they have been chanting for 16 rounds for many years, but if there is a break before initiation, 6 months starts from there.
Yeah, every time you break, you got to start with 6 months again.
Yeah.
Good point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maharaj.
If you want to go back to Godhead and experience eternal life and loving service to the Supreme Lord, which is full of knowledge and joy, it's not a cheap thing. You have to work for it.
Yeah.
You think it's something you can go to the store and buy, you'll find that there's no items available. Yeah, love of God is not something cheap to get.
Yeah, Lord Krishna is very kind, but he's not cheap.
Yeah, he's because he is the supreme source of all success and love. Yeah, okay. Looks like Sri Devi has jumped back into her question mode again.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, one quick question, please. Yesterday, we were talking about Ajamil, and in fact, Sudha Mataji asked this question, and I was a little doubtful because I didn't have much clarity. She said, was Ajamil chanting the holy names as a young Brahmin boy who had been well trained in all the Vedic knowledge? And I did have a clear answer because it doesn't really say he was chanting or not.
It doesn't say, but it said he was worshiping, and he was quite a strict worshiper.
Right. And in
Seems
those
like
days,
yeah,
yes.
seems like he was doing some type of regular worship. Doesn't say anything about the chanting though. But that doesn't mean he wasn't aware of the chanting.
Yes, Maharaj. That's somewhat my understanding also. Thank you very much. Hare
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for bringing up that. Yeah, thank you for clarifying again. Yeah, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Kopa, Durvishya, Kripasindu, Pedesa, Chidaram, Bhavyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namaho, Namaha, Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks so
Guru
much,
Maharaj.
Maharaj.
Thank you, devotees. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.